Hi guys, and welcome to the ADSR Music Theory course. My name is Jor and I'm going to explain this mad world of music theory to you over the next 2 hours. And I'm very excited about this one because we're going to start off with just the very basics, and I'm going to explain to you how scales and chords work and all that stuff, and how to find chords within a specific scale. And that's all good. That's going to teach us sort of the language. But then in the second part, in the B part, we're actually going to take this concept pretty far, and we're gonna check out some pretty advanced topics. We're going to talk about functional harmony and how chords behave inside the progression. So how chords want to move to another chord, and signaling harmonies and inversions and subdominant functions. And I'm going to throw a whole bunch of terminology at you. And I just want to make a note about this because for me, I've been gathering all of this information over the years, and I've been reading books and watching things and practicing and doing exercises and all of that stuff. And now you need to get all of that information in your head within 2 hours, which by the very nature is sort of impossible. So don't feel bad when certain topics seem too complex to understand right away. You need to get practice with these topics as well. So the idea is you watch some things, you experiment with the ideas, maybe you research some things further, and that doesn't mean that learning all of this is very difficult per se. You just need to give yourself time and allow your brain to sort of store all of this new information. Now, this course is aimed towards electronic musicians and producers, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to simplify things for you. Actually, we need to understand music theory on a level at which we can use it for different instruments and even synthetic sounds, rather than just understanding it for the instrument that you're playing on. So it's definitely not going to be easier, I guess, than a regular music theory course. The only thing we can skip on is musical notation, because I'm going to be using a MIDI editor, and that saves us some time talking about like all those music symbols. Then lastly, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page about what music theory is. I think before we get started, it's important to remember or realize that music theory is not a set of rules or things that we need to do, and by no means can we compare it to something like algebra or grammar, where we use certain rules or predefined logic to make sure we get the right answers, simply because there are no right answers in music. The only thing that music theory is a combination of tricks that work. It's nothing more. You can compare it with, for example, combining red and white paint. When you do so, it will give us a nice pink color, and we sort of know it works, but it doesn't mean we have to do that. We can use them separately as well, or we can combine them with different colors. So music theory can be very handy in working towards a specific style. Let's say, for example, you want to sound like Mozart. You could look at the techniques that he is using, and then you can use that in your own music, and it's going to sound closer to Mozart. So it can help you work into a specific direction, and it can also help you problem solve when you have a certain section of music and it doesn't work and you're not sure why. If you start to analyze it theoretically, you might notice that you're using a chord that's not functional, or you're doing something weird here or there, and then you can fix the problem. And then one last point I want to make, I touched upon it earlier as well, is the terminology. There's going to be a lot of different terminologies because music theory is a combination of those tricks that have been collected over at least 200 years. So there's a lot of different words for the same thing, and there are also different systems. Like we have a European system and we have a US system. So I'm going to use mostly the most common system, and most of the note names and all of that kind of stuff, I will be using the US system. So I guess what I'm saying is that whenever you get confused about all of the fancy Italian names and stuff like that, just try to focus on what we're actually explaining, rather than how to name it or how to classify it. All right, that all being said, let's dive into the first video, which is gonna explain scales.